let's focus on Eagles defensive backs versus Washington's, tough group of Terry McLaurin and Dotson and Sims and Logan Thomas, etc. This is not an easy group. They've gone against three straight. I mean, with St. Brown in Detroit last week and now this. It's a big challenge here. So the Eagles play the formerly Washington football team, now the Washington Commanders, in DC. 6.5-point favorites, guys. That's a heavy line for the Eagles in an NFC East game this early in the season. But Barrett, let's start with this. We saw the Eagles defensive backs just have an unbelievable game to the point where Darius Slay gets the defensive player of the week. James Bradbury acquits himself very well, as does Avonte Maddox. These guys really shut down a killer in Justin Jefferson, and in the entirety of the defense played excellent. But let's focus on Eagles defensive backs versus Washington's, tough group of Terry McLaurin and Dotson and Sims and Logan Thomas, etc. This is not an easy group. They've gone against three straight. I mean, with St. Brown in Detroit last week and now this. It's a big challenge here.
This is the best combined group of talent that, probably it probably might be in the division. If you look at it, man, they're gonna have their work cut out for them. I think that what's gonna help them is that offensive line is porous, which will make Carson make quicker decisions, and that doesn't necessarily bode well in their favor. But you look at Curtis Samuels; they've tried to get the ball to him exclusively. He has 20 times they tried to get him the ball, whether it be on jet sweeps, slants. I mean, everything. They're trying to do whatever they can do to get him the ball. He is their Debo Samuels out of that, on their team. He can do everything. Jahan Dotson, they trust him to be so young. They trust him. They'll throw it up to him at the drop of a dime. They have a lot of trust in him. And of course, we know Terry McLaurin is, he is definitely the heartbeat of the team as far as, big plays, but he hadn't had to carry the bulk of what they were doing because the other two have been playing well. I mean, Jahan Dotson has more touchdowns than anybody. And, he's a rookie. So Carson has chemistry with those guys. He just does Carson things. Carson will throw it up to you. Just get a little pressure on him, and he's going to hold the ball. So you can't stop with your rush. You got to keep going and keep going because he's going to hold the ball. And when he holds it, that's when you go out there and take advantage of him. But as far as talent, Samuels, Dotson, and McLaurin are three really, really talented guys. And we haven't even got into Sims because Cam hadn't even been on the field. They've been running a lot of 11 personnel, which is one running back, one tight end, and they have three receivers on the field. He hasn't been on the field at all. He's still a weapon. He is he is an Alabama receiver now. The kid can play. He just hadn't had the opportunity. When they give him the opportunity, he goes out there, he makes some plays. But our defense, I like what our defense is doing. I have a lot of faith in them doing the right things. I know they're not going to go out there and not have a good, at least a good showing. I know those guys can play. And what really excites me about this defense, they're so interchangeable, man. So interchangeable. You can line up Avonte Maddox in the slot, but then if they come out in four wide, they do put Sims in. You could put C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the slot. So both guys will be covered, and you go man-to-man across the board. That means you got Bradbury on one guy, and you got Slay on the other guy. You got legitly top 5 cornerbacks right there facing those wide receivers. So to me, that's a good matchup. That's a good matchup. Probably be the best matchup they had this year.
Will the approach be the same defensively that it was last week? How do you go about handling this offense, Carson, versus what you did with Kirk Cousins?
I think you're going to play a little more zone, understanding that he believes his front four will be able to get up the field. They just don't block well, looking at their offensive line, Charles Leno Jr., he's their left tackle, older guy, played in the league, a lot of experience. I still don't like the way he plays. I think he gives the corner up too easily. He turns we call it the swinging gate. He opens up because he's a lot shorter. He's a shorter tackle. You know what I'm saying? He's not necessarily the 6'5" and above tackles you're used to seeing. He's a shorter one, and he opens that gate up so easily. And, guys like Sweat take advantage of guys like him. Sam was Cosme.
Yeah,
he's the right tackle.
Yep.
He's in. I can remember, doing a write-up on. I thought he had short arms. Well, his arms didn't get any longer since he's been in the league, so he's easy to get into his body. And Sweat will have a great guy like here. Yeah,
Clarkson arms?
Yeah. But yeah, he got a one-hand stab. You one-hand stab him, and Sweat has a great one-hand stab.
Yeah,
it makes you longer as a pass rusher, and he can't sit down. So they'll give a lot of they'll give a lot of pressure up the around the edges, and then up the middle. Former Steeler Trey Turner, he's a turnstile also. Anytime you let Turner go, and he was a starter for like 3 or 4 years with the Steelers, you're bad because they don't like to let offensive line
because their offensive line stinks too.
Exactly. So you're a turnstile Turners. He's there, waiting for somebody to come rip it up on him. So yeah, they just got a bad off, and then their center is like the third team center. He's the third team center from camp. The guy was on the third team.
Okay.
So we'll do very well against them. Very, very well.
So so speaking of that, I want to add this. So Nick Sirianni's meeting with the media today, as he does on Fridays before the Sunday game. He had this to say about Hassan Reddick. He said, quote, I just keep thinking he's close to having a breakout game. That means he is just getting some of the pressure that we want on the quarterback. It's going to happen. I'm just glad he's on our football team. So, speaking of that, Barrett, Nick says he's close to a breakout game. What do they – and I'm not going to let him off the hook either, but you could throw him in there too, whatever. What needs to be done, whoever it is, to get this guy going here?
Put him one-on-one against Cosme.
Okay.
The right tackle. Put him one-on-one against him and let him go to work. That's all they need to do. He'll have 3 sacks if they just let him go to work against the right tackle. It'll be a great matchup. Remember, I said this. He'll have his first sack this game. They're that bad up front. So,
look, I'm in, man. I'm in. This should also be a game where Jordan Davis, maybe, let him get a little run in the passing game, or no? Is this wishful thinking on my part?
It's wishful thinking if you think they're going to go and if they get caught behind, then this won't be a Jordan Davis game. But if they keep it close, it'll be a Jordan Davis game because then they'll start pounding the rock with Antonio Gibson, who's pretty good. I'm doing my little write-up, my prediction write-up right now. And one of the things I'm stressing, you cannot let them start running the ball because Antonio Gibson is a big, strong back that can play, just about anything. As far as it run in between the tackles, he can catch. It's very, very good, man. So, this is gonna be a game in which you'll see the Eagles control the line of scrimmage. They'll definitely control the line of scrimmage on defense and offense. But there's the key matchup is our DBs against their wide receivers. That's gonna be much watch TV, man. Much watch TV.
All right, so let's go there. We know what happened last week. Devontae got going last week. AJ still had a solid game. They got everybody involved. Pascal was involved. Goddard involved. And they were able to move the ball down the field. Quez Watkins, he hit him on a long one. How do you attack this Washington defense from that standpoint?
They're going to want to stop the run because they know
they're
everything.
bad against the run, by the way.
They're bad,
terrible.
yes. So they've got to keep somebody in the box to help. And, that's all they have is really a box safety. Derek Forrest is a box safety. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to create matchups, you got to put him in a box to stop the run, which puts you man-to-man against everybody else. Can Jalen throw guys open? This will be a true test for him because they're going to try to go man-to-man across the board. So since you're trying to go man-to-man across the board, if you have these guys are pretty good route runners. A guy like, what's his name? Smitty. Smitty can wax you in coverage. You know, you mean to really cover him, the way he runs routes, he can create separation so well. So you look to him having a big game. Then when you try to go one-on-one with Dallas Goedert, that's going to be a tough matchup also for him. And their linebackers suck too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you get past. So Barrett, let's talk about it. So their strength is the real interior of their defensive line.
Yep, Payne and Allen. Yep.
Right? The two beasts. They're the guys who you really have to occupy here. And this is where it's going to fall on your interior guys, Kelsey in the middle, and the guys flanking him, Dickerson, Seumalo. So how do you see that specifically, that matchup?
Great matchup for them, but I think they're going to try to run the ball against them. You know, this will be a game where they run the ball against their offense, their defense. Our offense really feels as though we can push their guys around because they've been pushed around all day. Last week, they were getting pushed around by that Detroit offensive line. Penei Sewell looked like an all-pro Anthony Munoz type of player. Last week against that front. So this will be a good test for him, a very, very good test for him.
Okay. All right. All right. We're gonna hit a little early one. There's apparently some technical difficulties, so we will take an early one here, and we will come back and we will keep cracking Eagles and Washington. Ryan Mitchell a little bit later. We got all kinds of good stuff coming up. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network.